So I'm packing up the car. We're about to head back to back home from. We've been in Wisconsin, and excuse me, we've been in Minnesota. Going back to Wisconsin, we were here for a wedding that was had the privilege of officiating here, and it's just been a wonderful weekend, and so it's been so nice. We saw family, saw so many friends at the wedding, and just there's so many things I could just say. It was such a great weekend, and probably a number of devotional drop-in thoughts that could come from it. But I wanted to share one unique one that I was thinking about a lot. Was that so? This wedding was at Peace Lutheran Church in North Mankato, Minnesota, and that is where actually where I worshipped before coming to Abiding Shepherd. And that's actually where I started a youth group there at Peace, and where I got a ton of my experience when it comes to youth. It was with a group there called Crossed, and it was now just about 10 years ago that I left there and came to Cottage Grove, which is just crazy that it's been almost 10 years. Like, just can't get over that. And I remember I loved my time there so much, and I remember just loving it so much, but then also kind of like the bittersweet feeling of leaving. Excited to go to Abiding Shepherd, but then also, sad that that chapter was coming to a close. But what I was thinking about was, as I was there at the church and outside where we did so many of our youth activities and everything, I was thinking about how, man, it never even crossed my mind when I was there in the middle of doing all that youth work and worshiping there and spending that time there. It never even crossed my mind that perhaps 10 years later I would return and officiate a wedding for someone who was one of my youth here in Wisconsin. Like that whole thought never even crossed my mind. And it's just interesting now to go back and think about how that time when I was at Peace, how that was a chapter, a point on a journey, which now has led to this weekend. And it made me think about how, we're in the middle of a moment. We tend to focus on that moment, but it got me thinking, man, this moment is a step as part of a journey that is going to lead to somewhere into the future. That 10 years from now, what's going to be happening 10 years from now, and what step will this be on that journey to what's ahead? And it just has me kind of thinking differently about this moment right now. As we think about it being a step on a journey with what's ahead, I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years. I don't know where you guys are going to be in 10 years, but there are some future events that we do know for sure. And that if we keep those in mind, that it can give us some interesting perspective on now. Like in 2 Peter talks about how this broken world as we know it, full of sin and suffering and death, a world that is beautiful at moments but then broken at others, that this world as we know it is going to come to an end. That through faith in Christ, we died to our old selves. Our sin all was taken away in him. He rose, and just like he rose, we too shall rise. We are resurrection people. At some point, this broken world as we know it's going to come to an end, but we're going to rise, and we're going to be with him in the new heaven and new earth, the new creation, the paradise that's ahead. We're looking forward to that. And so Peter says, if that's what we're looking forward to, if this world as we know it is, if this moment here is a moment leading towards that, how does that change how we look at this moment now? Think about the fact that there is something ahead. Think about the fact that God is going to lead all this and he's going to work it all for good, and that ultimately there's the greatest good. There's the hope of eternity with him ahead. There's a hope of resurrection ahead. Think about this moment as a stop, as part of the journey to where God is leading you, and see how it changes the moment.